What's up, folks? Welcome to another episode of 10 Horse Money YouTube channel. This is my maiden voyage with the live scope. Got it all installed last night. I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning. We've got it all set up right here. This is the new dual rack mount that I built. If you haven't seen the video for that, it's pretty easy. It'll save you a lot of money. The goal today is to catch one fish using live scope. I brought my crappie gear, so I may just throw on some crappie, but I just want to catch a fish using this live scope. Gonna kind of learn how to use it, make some adjustments and some setting changes, and looking forward to it. It's 40 degrees out here, the sun is out, the wind is blowing about 15 out of the north, so it's a little bit nippy, but it's nice to have open water. Let's go see what we can do. Oh, it's a bite. Got him. Right. Nice. Shaky head. .38-degree water, guys. Decent fish, too. Good job, Gabe. Cool, just fishing this little channel swing. It's a good fish, man. I'll show you what I'm throwing here. So it's tough out here, right? Water is, you can see on the live scope, 38.35 degrees back here in this creek. And when it gets really tough, shaky head can be the way to go. So 1/8 ounce shaky head, this is a Zoom Fish Doctor, and 8-pound test. You gotta go light to keep this thing on the bottom and just bounce it around the rocks really slow. That's fun.
Let's dive a little bit into this really specialized bait, the situations that you want to use it in, kind of the concept behind it, the thing that I've been pondering on why I think that it works so well in this cold water situation. This is essentially a shaky head, right? But it's a unique bait. This is the Zoom Fish Doctor. And what makes this bait unique is it's got that kind of centipede frame. So it's rounded on the top and it's flat on the bottom. So it's like two baits, because if you rig it with the flat side down, you're gonna get a real gliding action. And if you were to flip it around and rig it with this rounded side down, you're gonna get a lot faster fall. So you get two different fall rates just on this one bait. An 1/8 ounce jig head is key. And I'm talking, you know, when I say cold water, I'm talking below 43 degrees. So today was like 37 to 39, but most of those fish were like 38-degree water temps. And that's tough. Anything for me personally, when it gets below 42, the bite gets really tough. So if you're not seeing fish up off the bottom, you know, those jerkbait fish or the A-rig fish, this is something that I definitely pull out when it's just tough. If I'm not getting a bite on a jig or something, this is one of those baits that I can get a bite on.
There he is. That fish is holding it. Same spot. Fish Doctor, baby. Good fish. Right down that grass. It's holding it. Just sitting on it. Come here. 37-degree water. Go, another decent fish on the old Fish Doctor, man. Light shaky head, 8-pound test. That's fun, man. That fish was just holding it. It's kind of coming through a little bit of grass and a little bit of rough stuff. and just held it, and then he pulled back. Man, my nose is running. It's fun though. These fish are so healthy right now. They're heavy, you know. They're dense, compact. Let's try that again.
Maybe you guys are saying 1/8 ounce jig head. Why would I throw shaky head on 1/8 ounce jig head? I could throw it on a 1/4 ounce, right? It's just down on the bottom and you're just dragging it around. Well, there's a unique advantage with this bait on an 1/8 ounce head, and it's the gliding action that it has on the bottom. So if you've got a really light jig head and you pull up on it, it just kind of becomes weightless for a little bit and it kind of glides through the water column. It's super, super natural. If you've got something really heavy, when you pull up on it, it has a tendency to just kind of scoot. It kind of stays on the bottom. But with that lighter weight and you got this flat bottom, it actually catches a little bit of lift. It gets a little bit of lift, and so you're pulling and it kind of comes up and does this. It just kind of it's real super subtle, it's real natural, and it just grabs the attention of those finicky fish, you know, fish that are in a negative mood. I think there's something about that light weight. Well, okay, so think about it like this, like a crawfish. I was just kind of coming up with this concept today while I was delivering mail. A crawfish is really light. If you take a crawfish and you hold it, it doesn't weigh much. I don't know what it weighs, like a couple grams or something. So this is an 1/8 ounce, right? This is basically 1/8 of a gram. And a crawfish has, you know, most aquatic animals are basically like water. They're almost neutral buoyancy for the most part. So they're real floaty. You know, if you drop a crayfish in the water, it's real kind of floaty. And that's kind of what this little worm looks like on the water. Or on the bottom of the lake. When you pull it, it's real like floaty, and it's got that natural, just kind of, I don't know, crawfish type presence. I mean, it kind of looks like a minnow too, but its bottom line is it's got that real natural look, that real slow fall rate, and that real slow little glide.
Oh, like another bite. There's a bite. Got him. Nice. It's stacked up right here. That's the thing about winter, man. You search and search and search, and they're hard to find, but then once you find them, you can usually catch multiple fish out of an area. And all three of those fish are on the same cast. Another decent fish. And he just picked it up and started swimming off with it. It's crazy, this water's that cold and they're still feeding like this. Come here, buddy. There we go. That's fun. It's good to get a bite in cold water. Normally 42 and below, I don't hardly get bites, but you know, things are changing. Just got to keep going, you never know. I'm happy with that fish. Let's see if there's another one out there. This is a great winter bait, guys. Great bait in the wintertime.
Another thing I was thinking about is the sound of an 1/8 ounce weight on the bottom of the lake. Mikey Balls was on the live stream the other night. If you haven't checked that out, go check it out. It's well worth it. It's a really good time, high energy, good content. But we were all, me, Mikey, and Jonathan were just kind of discussing the sound of an 1/8 ounce jig head on the bottom of the lake versus the sound of a 1/4 ounce. Obviously, gravity's in play and friction. So the heavier the weight, the more friction, the louder the noise is going to be. So it's kind of like this plastic is giving it a little bit of lift, but lead it's metal, right? So it's hard. It's not got water inside of it. It's not infused. So it's not naturally buoyant. So it digs in more, and the heavier the weight, the more it's going to dig in on the bottom. Yeah, you're going to get a little bit of like sediment. Maybe that'll catch the fish's attention. But I think the sound, it makes a more of a finessey sound. It's a duller sound. It's a softer sound. It's a little bit more natural. And that's another reason why I think that light shaky head will get you more bites in the winter.
What I'm fishing here is just it's a point, real flat point, and in about 15 foot of water it drops off into the creek channel. You've got some old grass, some of that rope grass, and then you got a little bit of grass underneath the water. And there's a little bit of hard stuff on the top of this thing. Just a harder bottom, kind of pulling through that grass and that hard bottom, and that's where these bites have been coming from. Just moving this bait real slow. I mean, literally moving it just a couple inches and just let it sit and just kind of shake it on a slack line. You can see my rod tip. I got a little bit of slack line. I'm just kind of shaking it a little bit and then letting it sit and just kind of shaking it. And that's really all you're doing. You're trying to move it really, really slow. These fish are lethargic. You know, the water temp's like around 38 degrees. So they're not going to chase it. You got to kind of leave it in front of their face. Felt like a bite right there. The bites have been, a couple of them have grabbed it, and then some of them just kind of held onto it. Just everyone's been a little bit different. Just kind of shaking that rod tip a little bit and moving it just a couple inches, and then just kind of let it sit. It's cold down there. They're kind of right off the side of this thing. Sometimes they won't do anything. They'll just hold on to it. To really be in tune with your bait this time of year. It's one thing that's nice about a light bait. It doesn't take much tension to really pick up on it. There's a bite right there. God, I missed it. Yeah, that was a dunk. I missed him. Bites are premium. Can't be missing them. It's a good bite. It's a good sign. It's a nice hard tick. Shit'll let him eat it. See, it's one thing I'm learning. In wintertime, a lot of times you gotta let them have it. I jerked it away from that fish. Another bite. Got him. Knew there was more down there. Same cast. There's a little school down there. Just gotta keep searching, keep moving. Just tell by the way that last one bit, there had to be more down there. Okay, get in there, buddy. Man, it's cool when you finally find them. You know, you gotta hunt and search and peck and grind, and you find a little group. It makes it all worthwhile. It's just kind of how winter fishing is. Just slow and methodical most of the time. You know, a lot of times you don't even get a bite. You know, there's been days when you just come out here and you're just trying to get a bite, but it's cool to find a little school out here on this point. That's fun.
You know, I kind of went backwards on my shaky head fishing this year. I started beefing up my line size. I was throwing a lot of, you know, 15-pound tests with a 1/4 ounce shaky head, and that's great in the summertime. You're going to get bites on it. I mean, you can go up to like a 1/2 ounce or whatever, put a big Magnum, you know, straight tail worm on there. But I really think it's a disadvantage in cold water to have like a 1/4 ounce head and heavy line. So I put 12-pound tests on, and I still wasn't getting the bites that I needed. I was still throwing that 1/4 ounce head, 12-pound test. And I have a lot of confidence in shaky head. And I wasn't getting the bites that I thought I should get. And I kind of started thinking about, sometimes you just got to reflect on a time frame where you did get a lot of bites on a certain bait and see if anything has changed. And things had changed. I'd put 12-pound tests on where normally in the past I was fishing with 8-pound tests. A couple of reasons I did that is, a 12-pound test, I mean, you can horse them in a little bit more, and then it's a lot more abrasion resistant, so you don't have to worry about it breaking off. You don't have to retie as much, but you lose some of the critical value of that 8-pound test. So I made an adjustment. I cut my 12-pound test off and I put 8-pound test on, and I got several bites that day. I don't think I would have got those bites with that 12-pound test. It's not just that they can see the 12-pound test, because I don't think the fish could see that. It's the way that that light line allows this bait to have a lot more freedom. It lets it glide a lot more. The heavier the line, it seems like it pulls it down, especially with fluorocarbon. If you've got 8-pound test, it just gives it freedom. You know, fly fishermen, that's notorious in fly fishing. You know, you can get by with heavier line, but the lighter line you have, the more movement it allows that fly to have. And that's the same way with the shaky head. So 8-pound test, fluorocarbon, and I like 15-pound braid. This is actually, I think it's Berkeley Nanofill. I've been throwing this around for a couple years. It's really good braid. But whatever braid of choice, something in that 10 to 15-pound range is excellent. I think the braid to fluoro is a key component to this system. And this is a Daiwa Tatula. It's the XT, so it's like a $100 price point, medium, 7 foot, great rod, very sensitive. Sometimes you can find these on sale. I've had this for several years, been very pleased with that. And then I've just got a Shimano, it's a 2500 Sahara. But just a, you know, spinning rod, definitely want to throw this on a spin casting equipment. And unless you're just die hard and you want to throw the bait caster, but I think there's definitely an advantage with that spin cast. You can make that cast, you can open this bell, and you can let the bait free fall. And that's another cool thing about this bait. I just got live scope, so I was able to watch this bait on the live scope, and it kind of pendulums down. It kind of it glides kind of in a circle, almost like a tube, but it's a little bit different. But it has that gliding action, and that's because, you know, like I said, this flat side right here, it's got a really cool gliding action. And if you got a lot of wind or you want it to get down a little bit quicker, you can flip this thing around and have that round side down, and it doesn't catch as much water resistance. But that gliding action, cool thing about forward-facing sonar, you can definitely see what your bait is doing. You can see how fast it's falling, how it's reacting on the bottom, and then how the fish are reacting towards the bait.
Cold water shaky head fishing, guys. I mean, it's like anywhere from, you got 38.47 on the Garmin, and then on the Lowrance I got 39.7. And on the other side of this cove it was 37. So anywhere from 37 to 39. That's the kind of water temperatures we're fishing. It's really clear, probably like 4 foot of visibility, and we're out of the wind. It's windy out there in the main leg. Just pulled back this little creek to kind of get out of it and to kind of work on this live scope a little bit. Just got live scope, obviously. I'm still trying to figure it out, but it's really hard to do in the wind. You know, you're constantly having to adjust the foot pedal and you can't find your bait.
It's got me thinking there's more fish down there the way that fish hit. He just picked it up and started swimming off with it. Usually when they do that, it's a competition thing. There's more down there and they're picking it up and carrying it away from their buddies. Uh-oh, feels like a bite. Got him that time. Yes. Yes, just got heavy. That's all I'm getting. Just got heavy. That was that same fish. I just missed him. Threw right back in there and he grabbed it. Yeah, that fish ate it. That fish ate it. That was a good bite. Just got heavy. It's cool. Coming through that grass. This little light shaky head. Little fish doctor, baby. Come here. Go, folks. Fish ate it. Super light bite. Just held on to it. I just had a bite and I missed it. I pulled it away from him. So I think there's multiple fish down there for sure. I think we got time to make one more cast before it gets dark. But it's just nice to come out here and catch some fish. They're so pretty right now. And just beautiful colors. Beautiful fish. Fat, healthy. Good times, man. Good times. Sometimes you don't want to get out here because it's cold, but you never know what's going to happen.
There's a lot of good shaky heads out there in the market. Cumberland Pro makes a really good one, but I prefer one without the screw lock. This is the Cumberland Pro shaky head. If you like a screw lock, check these out. It's got a really cool, it's got that flat stand-up head on there. It comes through cover, excellent. But if I was to use this, which I do at times, I will cut about half of that screw lock off. Just like maybe leave 1.5 twists on there. Because if you look at this, there's your gap for your hook right there. Okay? This screw lock like lessens the gap quite a bit. So just pretend that screw lock's not on there. Your gap is really, really big. So I'll cut that back about half if I really think I need to use a screw lock. But most of the time I don't. Most of the time I'm using this style right here. It's got the keeper on there, but just look at how much more gap you have right there versus that. That's quite a bit. That's significant, and that's going to aid on a better hook set. You know, there's no screw lock there because that fish, when it bites down on the screw lock, it's like a real heavy duty weed guard. You know, it's gonna like slide over that. Sometimes it'll actually, I don't know. I think that it encourages the bait to go in between the lip. You know, it doesn't have as good of a hook set. I mean, I've messed with it a lot and it does seem to make a difference. But something like this is a big bite baits, just a ball head. This is 1/8 ounce. It's got the barb there on the shank, 3/0 hook. It's like a medium wire, but it penetrates really good on 8-pound test. I'll show you how to rig this Zoom Fish Doctor up really quick. This is a Zoom Fish Doctor. This is the package. This is a green pumpkin worm, and it's like, I don't know, what length is it? It's probably like maybe 4 inches, but it's really slender. So first thing I do, I'll grab a new one here real quick, just to keep it real. Grab me one of these out here. I've got a bunch of them in here. So it comes like this. It's kind of rounded there on the top. You want to cut that off. You want to cut that little rounded part off. So you're just basically cutting like, I don't know, like 1/8 of an inch off, maybe a little bit more. Gonna cut that off. So now you got this nice flat spot here. Take your jig head and you're just gonna run it in about 1/4 of an inch, maybe like that right there, not too far. just basically, I like it to kind of fit right at the edge of that keeper, just enough to catch that keeper. So you ride it up like this. I just push it. I actually spin it around like this and slide her up on there like that. Get it in front of that barb. And then you get a pretty good angle there. Just kind of push it up on there. So now here's another key part of shaky head fishing is take your hook in like this. You want to get it flat, but I like to take, so right now the barb is completely inside of the bait, right? I like to actually push it to, I can barely feel that barb sticking up out of the plastic. I think what happens is when you're pulling, when you get a bite and you set, that little bit of barb comes across and it catches that roof of the fish's mouth, that skin, and it encourages that hook point to really pop out of the plastic. You'll get more fish in the boat. You'll get a better hookup if you do that. But that's really it. And the other thing that I do is I'll just take this spike it marker, chartreuse spike it marker, and I'll just hit the tips for a couple reasons. It adds contrast and it adds scent. And I'm a firm believer in scent, especially in the wintertime and around the spawn. But a little bit of contrast, it stands out a little bit. And that's the whole package right there. 8-pound test, 1/8 ounce jig head, Zoom fish doctor. This gets bites when it is really tough in the wintertime and cold water situations.
There's a bite. Got him. Right on top of that point. Right on top of that point. Knew there had to be another fish around here somewhere. Decent fish. It's a good bite. Bite. Fun. Right. Chunky little fish. Shakehead just came right out. Made an adjustment. I had to change my angle and started going around this point. I'm going to fish the other side of this point real quick before it gets totally dark. And you know, sometimes just changing an angle generates another bite or two because there's still fish down there. You can just tell the way they're biting, you know, and that's the whole deal in the wintertime. Like I said, just keep moving, and hopefully before it gets dark you can find a little school of fish grouped up in an area, and then it gets really fun. These fish are all in about 10 foot of water. Most every one of those bites has been like 10 to 12, maybe 8. I want to say like 8 to 12, just around old grass or just something rough, you know, a little bit of just a hard spot down there. There's a little bit of hard spot. You'll come through a little bit of hard spot, and then it'll get soft, and you start coming through that hard stuff again, and that's where the bites have been coming from. Oh, the bite? There's a bite. Come on. Get it. Get it. Got him. All right. Shaky head fish. Another shaky head fish. Hit it twice. There. There we go. Yeah, it's a nice fish. It's fun. There we go, folks. It's going to wrap it up. Caught a few fish today. It was slow. You know, I fished 38 to 37 degree water temps. Nothing big, but look at these tats on these fish over here. It's beautiful. You know, I caught a couple fish had a couple bites on jerkbait, a couple on this shaky head, and I spent a lot of time messing around with that active target, which is really cool. Saw a lot of fish. I had one bite watching the fish, but I can see where it's real valuable on just locating fish. Not that you're going to be able to see your bait all the time, but just kind of panning around, finding fish and throwing towards them. And then cover, you know, you can find logs and brush piles and stuff like that on the bottom, but I got a lot of work to do. I can also see where you can waste a lot of time doing it because it's mesmerizing. So anyway, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up if you appreciate the content, and until next time. I'm ready for spring. Ready for spring.